Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I will be doing a review of the novella by Frederick Bachman, And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. This is a very short novella by Frederick Backman. It released in 2016, and it is only about 76 pages long, and it is very large print. So it is almost what I would consider to be a long short story as opposed to a novella. Because in my mind, a novella needs to be a lot more words than this is, but still, it's really good, and I'll get into why. But first, I do want to provide some background on my thoughts on Frederick Bachman, so you know where I stand with him and his writing. So I had, the first book of Frederick Bachman's that I read was Beartown, which is, this is a book that packs a wallop. And there was so much that was great about this book. And there was so much that was, I think, really bad about this book. And more than anything else, this book asks questions. And some of them questions are answered, and I don't like the answers that Frederick Bachman creates. But at the same time, there are some questions that I do like that he creates. But he creates a conversation, which is good. And so that was this book. And I also read A Man Called Ova, which I think was fantastically written book. It was, I believe, his first, and I think it was just spot on in what it needed to tell. I think I had a few really minor issues, but other than that, it was a fantastic book. I loved this one. And then we had My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry, which I thought was a good read, although the more fantastical elements of it were just weird, but the writing style was fantastic in this. And then you have Britt Marie was here, which I didn't love, but I thought it was a well-done story. It's enjoyable to read. So I've had kind of a mixed bag. Overall, I'm positive about Frederick Bachman's writing. He's a more contemporary author, and I don't really read that much contemporary. I'm more into fantasy, sci-fi, political thriller, that type of thing. So to get into contemporary is a bit harder, but I read these because some people I know love Frederick Bachman, and also some booktubers that I follow, particularly Murphy Napier, love Frederick Bachman, and she loves And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer, which is a long title. And so I read this book in one sitting, and I thought it was fantastic. It is by far my favorite Frederick Bachman book. This book deals with a grandpa who is starting to lose his memory and his mental faculties, and he is trying to prepare his grandson for the future. And as a result, you see him trying to explain to his grandson, who's very young, he's a very young grandson, why this is happening and how this is happening, and basically try to describe what it feels like to have this happen. And you just see this immense sadness that he's not going to be able to continue to experience life in the same way with his grandson. And his grandson has some great conversations about the love that he has for his grandfather. And there's also, the boy's dad, who's the grandfather's son. You see his perspective as well, and you see him trying to help, and what it's like to help when your parents are going through this type of memory loss. And so it's just such a well done look into what happens as we get older. And then it also deals with the loss of the grandmother. And so there are so many questions that this book asks, so many themes. Despite being such a short book, there's illustrations on the pages, which takes away from the word count. There's also very large margins and very large font, and it's a very small book as compared to the other hardcover that came out. So it's a very small book, but it packs so much into just this one tiny story. And I just think that he nailed everything in this book. And I must say that this is the first Frederick Bachman book that I've read where there was absolutely no language in it, no foul language. And I was very appreciative of that fact, because to me, that is something that he had way too much of in Beartown, and I thought it was a tad excessive in all the rest of his books. But here there was none, and it was refreshing. And I think personally, this book could be turned into a movie and it would win all the Oscars. I think that it is a beautiful, beautiful story. I think that would be so easy to adapt, and I just think that the way that Frederick Bachman told this story, it was one of the few stories where I'm like, I want to recommend this to people I know, because I feel like this is true literature in the highest sense of the word. And by the way, I love this cover. I think this might be my favorite Frederick Bachman cover. I think it's just so beautiful. So I really enjoyed this. It's a novella, so I can't really go much further into discussing it because you want to read it yourself. And I must say, I was wishing that it was in paperback instead of hardcover, because the price for a hardcover novella is kind of ridiculous. But this one was worth it because it was just so good. And so I highly recommend this to anyone, no matter what your genre preferences are. It's a very quick read, so if you are unclear, you could check it out at the library and read it at the library. It's a super quick read, but totally worth it. So are you a fan of Frederick Bachman? Do you like this novella? Do you like his other works? Let me know in the comments. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.